Well, welcome to the Aviation Business Podcast, episode 160, where we're going to talk about teaching a person to fish. No, we're not going to don our waders, grab a pole and bait and head out into the waters. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership coaching, which I think is just so incredibly important to know, understand, and do as a leader. There's a great quote: coaching is releasing a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It is helping them to learn rather than teaching them. And that's an unknown source, but we go back to the adage: you give a person a fish, they eat for the day, but you teach a person to fish and they'll eat for their lifetime. So coaching, as a definition, is releasing a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It is helping them to learn rather than teaching them. And we get into the facet of coaching. Coaching has a lot of different definitions, but I'm going to talk about the difference between instructing and coaching, right? Instructing is an important thing. When someone knows nothing about a subject, often they need to learn via instruction. But most strong team members and leaders who have been doing their role for a while need someone to coach them. People get tired of just being told what to do. And if that's what you do as a leader, they're going to continuously come back to you for everything. They will never grow or develop into the person they should be. And you will constantly be instructing people what to do on every task, every single week. So instead, we want to coach them. We will develop them through coaching. People want to grow by you helping them. As they develop, the more coaching needs to take over from instructing. So James Hunt said, the manager needs to have a coaching mindset, looking for opportunities to help others learn. The coach and coachee relationship must be one that rests on a foundation of trust that can allow the coaching dialogue to take place. If all you're doing is instructing, you're shutting down the dialogue. You won't discover what the person doesn't understand or what they do understand that you can build on. So coaching allows for a dialogue to take place where instructing really shuts that down. Again, there's a time and a place for everything. The key to coaching someone, number one, is to start with the heart. And I've talked about leadership coaching on a number of episodes in this podcast, but authors Byron and Catherine Pulsifer said the best coaches really care about people. They have a sincere interest in people. They believe the best in them, and they believe that by partnering with a coachee, you can help them to achieve a higher altitude by walking alongside of them and listening to them and asking questions, helping them to realize that potential or realize the different solutions they can take, right? So you start with the heart, and then you develop active listening skills. 360-degree listening means truly listening with your ears and your eyes for verbal, nonverbal cues, what a person's saying and not saying, what they are communicating, and just listening. If you're already preparing to respond to everything that somebody says, you are shutting down the process. You are not active listening. And folks, this is tough. I know from firsthand experience, active listening can be difficult. And you've got to have the humility to understand that everything you have to offer may not be the best solution for the person you're coaching, even when they work with you. But by leading them through leadership coach training and a process that leads to desired outcomes, you are doing them a favor. Authors Marilyn Atkinson and Ray Coas, hope I pronounced that right, said everything in coaching hinges on listening, because what we are listening for affects where we are speaking from and unfolds how we are being with and for each other. So if you're not listening, people are not going to share, and your process is not going to go through. If you are continually instructing or offering advice before listening, you're going to shut down the process. The person's going to stop listening to you, and they will not develop in the way you hope they will develop. So once you actively listen with your ears and your eyes and your whole self, then you've got to learn to ask good, open-ended questions that aren't leading your agenda, that you're not trying to solve the problem through questions early in the process, but you're asking probing questions, getting the coachee or your team member to go deeper, questions that help uncover a way for them to come up with their own answer, their own solution, just by learning to ask good open-ended questions. Some of those questions are, tell me more about that. If you were to tell me how to do that, how would you explain it? Again, you just search leadership coaching questions on the internet. There are whole books on this. They're a great subject. And in fact, this is just a primer. This is another quick hit just to whet your appetite to really develop a passion for leadership coaching. If you're a leader who does not have this skill, you are missing out and you are not being as effective as you can be. Phil Dixon said, probably my best quality as a coach is I ask a lot of questions and let the person come up with the answers. And you need to accept those answers and continue to ask probing questions that dig them deeper. If you're constantly offering your opinions and advice early in a coaching process, then you're going to shut it down and it will not reap the full benefits. Advice does have a role in coaching, but it needs to come at the end of the conversation, at the end of the process, if it's welcome. If you're coaching someone who's not an employee or team member, they may not be open to your advice. So it's good to ask permission to offer advice to someone. We're always, as leaders, ready to solve the problems. We are problem solvers. We want to put out the fires. But when we're developing others, offering our advice and opinions, instructing them rather than coaching them by caring, believing the best, listening with 360 degrees, and asking good open-ended questions, you are not effectively developing them. Well, take your leadership to a higher altitude by being a leader who coaches others. Well, here's your aviation fun fact for the day. We're going to July 19th of 1989. And that's where United Airlines Flight 232, which was a McDonnell Douglas DC-10, suffered a complete hydraulic system failure over Iowa after the tail-mounted engine disintegrated. So according to Wikipedia, the crew maintained partial control of the aircraft using differential throttle, bringing it to a crash landing on the runway of the Sioux City, Iowa airport. Of the 296 people on board, 111 die. And I had the opportunity to hear the captain speak about this years ago. What a harrowing tale. We are thankful that at least half of the people on board did survive solely due to the ingenuity and innovativeness of the crew. I believe if you can go to YouTube or do the search engine, you will find stories and information on this event, which was really a pivotal moment in aviation, and many good things and developments have come because of it. Well, that's your aviation fun fact for the day. Until next time, keep your wheels up and your attitude high.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Business Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share with someone who could benefit from its content. You can stay up to date by subscribing in iTunes or your podcast player of choice. This episode is brought to you by Aris Insurance Solutions, your flight plan for navigating the turbulence in aviation insurance. To find out more, go to arisinsurance.com. That's AERIS insurance.com.